program. I want to show you this chart again. This is a brand new chart out, if we can take it. By the way, this is John Avalon. He's the author of Independent Nation. He's going to walk us through. This is, again, here's the Republican line. You see that it has fallen from 26 to 22%. Now let's put the Democratic line up there. You see the Democrats start at 39. It's slowed down all the way to 33. They're actually losing more than the Republicans are, but they're on the same path to hell. Now let me show you the independents. Here's the independent line. Remember I told you they were about to cross? Look at this. They cross, and now up to 39%. This is the first time. It hadn't been like this in 70 years since we've been taking this poll. So now in 70 years, independents are the leading party, or actually the anti-party, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Independent voters, the largest and fastest growing segment of the electorate. In the last 5 months, you've seen a huge correction from the post-election euphoria. This chart should be a huge wake-up call to partisans in both parties in Washington, because independents are declaring their independence, and it's largely a result of two things. Independents tend to be fiscally conservative, socially liberal/libertarian, strong on national security. So the Republican parties continue to decline in part because of their playing to the base tilt. The Democratic Party starts to decline, and independents outpace them right around mid-February, early March. What's happening then? That's when the bailouts and the budgets start getting proposed. And all of a sudden, you start seeing a move that is way more fiscally liberal than independents are comfortable with. And that's when they pull into the lead.
So what's interesting to me is two things. One of which is both of them are tracking down. And if you see this line here, the Republicans, I think a lot of this is Republicans' growth here in the independents, wouldn't you say?
To some extent.
Until January, until it really kicks in, the Republicans weren't happy with the big progressive John McCain, so they were kind of bailing and sick of it. No?
I disagree with you on that. I think there is Republicans leaving the party because they lost their credibility on fiscal issues.
Yes.
But independents tend to be more close to the Democratic Party on social issues. So the more conservative the Republican Party looked, the more social litmus test it got, it loses moderate Republicans. They start registering independent. The Colin Powell vote starts going independent.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I really think the winning strategy, what America wants right now, is just common sense. What you do in your bedroom is your own business. I don't really care.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that I'm for gay marriage, but I'm not saying you can't get married either. If you want to do that in your state, do that in your state. Whatever, I don't care.
Yep.
But we're not for social programs. We're people that just want common sense fiscal responsibility.
That's right.
The candidate or the party that comes up with that and leaves everything else alone would rocket to the top.
And individual freedom. That's exactly right. And this is what's been missing. The last time independents were this prominent was around 1992. What happened? Both parties abandoned fiscal responsibility, and Ross Perot rode the lead. It's also a generational thing. There's a generation of young voters that do not think in terms of left versus right, black versus white, or red state versus blue. These folks have a multiplicity of choice every place, and they are declaring their independence from the two-party system.
Give me one more minute. One more minute. I have to ask you this. I'm afraid that these guys down here are going to sense that both of these are not for independent. They're not for freedom, individual freedom. Okay, they're both controlling in different directions.
That's right, and more polarized than ever before.
Right. So these guys, they're so low. They're going to say, "Oh, well, we could be that Tea Party party." They will try to co-opt this movement, and it will be disastrous for them because these people know that these people are lying and these people are lying. It's going to take an independent, somebody to come out and go, you both stink on ice.
And say, you know what, you're both controlled disproportionately by special interests on either side. We know that's bull. We know that's not the way.
Either of these parties clean up their house enough to be able to turn it around, or are they...
Either could. Look, independents like Barack Obama. They're inspired by his rhetoric. It's the fiscal record that's starting to give them trouble, and realize the influence of the far-left Democrats in the House in particular. Republicans should have a bridge to these folks. If they could restore their credibility on fiscal responsibility and then get real about individual freedom, not just the rhetoric, but the reality, they could claim independence. But as long as there's that disconnect, as long as both parties are preaching to their base, these folks generationally are going to say, you know what, why is politics the last place I should be satisfied with the choice between brand A and brand B? That's not the way I live my life.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Back in just a second.